I like humility.
You people.
Oh my gosh.
Are you serious?
5 years old. Just.
All right. So today is your day. Today we get to hear about your favorite characters from your favorite stories, and your goal is to convince us why we should agree with you that these are great characters.
Are we doing the other people's like nativity things, or are we just going straight to the?
No, not that this week. That we'll pick that up again next week. We'll barely get through this week because
If we do actually get through it this week.
we will see.
Because there's
Well, two
12
people.
of us.
I say, well, two people are not doing it this week. They're doing it at the beginning of next class, so that'll take a little time pressure off. So, who would like to go first? You've got a maximum of 4 minutes to convince us why your character is someone we should admire too. Okay? Who would like to go first?
Unless there's 3 people, then it's 12.
Well, yeah, you can group your time if you're going for the same
I
character.
could, but I don't have a projection or anything.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I just go.
Some people were using that, some people didn't want to bother, so I just had it set up so you can use it if you want to.
2 a.m. baby.
Okay.
That 2 a.m. grind.
My name's Pietro Macaron, and I'm going to be telling you about one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. Is Pietro Maximoff, otherwise known as Quicksilver. Quicksilver is actually one of the fastest characters besides in the internal movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Which you might be saying, hey Pietro, that's Cap because you can't dodge bullets, and people like Iron Man and Spiderman have dodged a lot faster than bullets. I'm telling you, shut up. He's the fastest. Then there's no debate to it. He went down as one of the greatest characters in all of MCU movies. You know, like the way he fell from grace. He put his life on the line to save Hawkeye and the child, letting Hawkeye go on to his own TV show, which is so grateful for him, you know. We could have just had Hawkeye die. I don't think anyone would disagree. Really, I love Hawkeye. I always wanted to be Hawkeye, and Iron Man would give shooting the bow, but Quicksilver is better. I mean, unfortunately. So, his fall from the greatest superhero to death was unfortunate, and I would have liked to see a lot more of him. The sacrifice that he showed really displayed his true heroics that were deeply inside of him. Even though at the beginning of the movie he was like a bad guy, but things change, people change, and he's a great display of that. He's also really cool. He has a nice accent. He has cool hair. He has a cool shirt. I actually have the shirt, but I was gonna bring that, but unfortunately did not. He had cool Adidas sweatpants, and he's just all around the coolest character ever in Marvel history. No debate. He also has the best name in Marvel history. Thank you. That's it. That's all
He actually did dress up as Pietro Maximoff one year for Halloween.
So this is me as Pietro. You can't really see it, so we're gonna
It's
go.
really old. It's from 4 years ago.
No more than that.
No, it's just him instead of those.
Why do people sound like
You know, but he's not the most powerful.
Yeah, just so you
We're not
Makes
Yeah, what I will do, guys, listen up. When you're 30 seconds off your time, and Pietro didn't run up against it, but if you get to 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I will. I'll raise my hand so you know you've got 30 seconds to wrap up. All right. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
All right, Eddie's up next.
I didn't really mean to say it.
Sometimes that happens.
It's fine.
Okay, so my favorite protagonist is Coraline. Specifically
from the book, because in the movie I found her quite annoying, and I don't know, that wasn't how she was supposed to be.
There's a book called
In the book she's very dependent because she doesn't have anyone with her. Like it's just her, and you can hear her thoughts and everything. The only reason there's a character with her in the movie is so that she can voice her thoughts, and because you can't hear them in the movie like you can hear them in the book. So she's very independent that way. And she's very brave. There's a quote from her that says, "Because when you're scared but you still do it, that's bravery." She was willing to sacrifice everything that she had to save her parents from the other mother thing. That was the antagonist, I guess. And she would have left everything to save them. She would have to be stuck with the other mother forever, and that's terrible. She would have her soul taken, and that's not good. And she was very loving, caring, and smart too, because she knew always that the other mother was trying to trick her, but she wouldn't let her trick her. She would figure it out before anything happened. And she never let her fear get the best of her, and she kept going until the very, very end of the book and movie. That's all.
And I have a question for clarification. Independence.
Yeah.
Well, when you say independence, what about her independence did you like?
Well, that she was independent enough to make it on her own. She was brave enough to be by herself and still.
Okay. So like self-reliant. Are you looking for self-reliant?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Also, I see what you mean, like, with her thoughts, because, like, in the first, like, Hunger Games book, like, Katniss has a lot of thoughts in her head, so, like, the movie's very, like, quiet at times, because usually during those scenes in the book, she's, like, thinking a lot, so, like, I understand what you mean there.
Yeah, you can see the same sort of thing in something like this one movie, SelfReliant, Progressive Aria of a Starless Night. It's all told from Asuna's perspective, but in the books, it's just her reflecting on things and learning things on her own. But in the movie, they had to introduce another character so that they could have like somebody to explain things to the audience and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
All right, who's next?
I'll go next.
All right, Ian's up.
Our PowerPoint.
You want to plug into the screen? PowerPoint.
I read
I'm with Ian on this one. He's a great character.
I don't even know who the character is.
I don't know who he is. I know who it is.
Last night.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who. Oh, him?
No.
No.
Yeah, he.
Woo!
No, that's not here. I mean, I'm looking at it.
Who looks like Gandalf? No.
No.
You should look at
Alright, I know.
Those pants, though.
Yeah.
The shoes. The shoes.
This is the guy who I'm presenting on. His name is Rex. He's the main character from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, my favorite video game of all time.
Woo!
Yeah. For the record, the reason why he's dressed like that is because he's a salvager. He digs up stuff at the bottom of the sea for him. And actually, one of the things I have to explain before going into him is kind of the world of Allrest that he comes from, because it's very different from most things. Okay, first of all, this is Allrest. It's a sea of clouds. The whole world is just covered in a sea of clouds. Okay, the only way that people can live is on the back of these things, called Titans, okay? At the center of the... Okay, they're living creatures, but they are basically have their own ecosystems on them. Like, they can be anywhere from the size of like an elephant to like the size of a continent. At the center of the cloud sea is this, the World Tree, which is said to climb up to Elysium, where humans and the other humanoid creatures were said to have lived before the architect, the creator of all things, cast them down to Allrest. Also in this world, there are these things called blades. Blades are beings born of core crystals that can only be awakened from their core crystals by certain people who have the potential to be blade drivers. Blades offer their drivers weaponry and also can channel the ambient magical energy of ether to their driver to empower them, turning them basically into superheroes.
Like, superpowered fairies.
Is that
basically.
Shulk?
Yes, that's actually from a DLC thing, actually. Anyway, now on to what I actually like about the dude. This dude, he's an incredibly kind, generous, and very forgiving soul. From the very beginning, we see that, again, he's a salvager, so he like scrounges up stuff on the seafloor and sells it. Most of the money that he actually makes from doing that, he sends back to his home village of Fonset, found here in the Letheria archipelago. And later in the game, actually later in the early game, when he meets this girl, Pyra, the Aegis, an exceptionally powerful blade, she wants to go to Elysium to basically just return home. And he agrees to take her there, partially because A, he's just an absolute lad and just is happy to help out everyone.
I love that.
And also because he wants to go there to help save the world because there's a slight problem. The Titans, they're beginning to die off, which is just kind of a problem for being alive. And it's also causing things like major wars between two factions. And if you really want to see the extent of his kindness, okay, in this scene right here, later in the game, like chapter 8 or 9, this guy right here that he's defending, his name is Jin, and in the first chapter of the game, he stabs Rex in the heart.
Wow.
That's, so yeah, like, it's hard, that's just about as forgiving as you can get. He's also an incredibly brave character, partially just through, like, just looking at the various enemies that he has to fight throughout the game. He has to fight blades that move at the speed of light, one that can destroy things on a whim, and is essentially driven by the sole purpose of destruction, and essentially a Pope who has used core crystals to empower himself to becoming a monster. Which I was really going to show in here, but I can show you guys very much. He's also an incredibly loyal character. Again, he always helps out the people at Fonset where he lives. He also helps out Pyra in her quest to go to Elysium. And it's not just him.
Nope, you have 30 more seconds.
Okay. He also helps out his friends through basically everything. When they're going through hard times, discovering things about themselves. It's really amazing to see what he does. And that's one of the other things that I love about him, is his ability to draw out the best in his friends. This is everything from helping Pyra, the Aegis, awaken her true power, to him helping his friends accept a part of themselves that they previously shunned, softening the heart of his enemies, who again literally stabbed him in the heart, or even just helping out his one friend with creating his masterpiece. Like, he's just an absolute great dude, and I cannot give him proper justice without going into huge spoilers for the game. And this is mainly a problem because she is playing it.
Alright.
So there you go.
I 100% with him. Rex is like the best video game protagonist there is.
Okay.
What are you laughing about during the presentation? Pyra's appearance?
Wait, so
I
Ian.
know. Was laughing at that. Was laughing at that.
Ian.
I didn't even laugh. I was working.
Not you.
Ian, so basically they're like really OP fairies, right?
That's kind of a way of thinking about it. It's a little bit different than that. There's actually a lot of really interesting stuff about blades, such as the fact that when they're awakened, and they become an entirely new person from when they were previously born, because they live and die with their driver.
Okay.
Like when a driver awakens the blade, they're essentially a new person, and when that driver dies, the blade resets into their core crystal and has all their memories wiped. So whoever finds them next, they are essentially an entirely new person.
The game can be very heartbreaking at times.
I feel like that.
No.
Alright, who's next here?
I thought about it for a bit and now I'm like, no, you should.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out this fall, and I'm pre-ordering it.
We are so psyched for it.
Oh boy.
And that will actually complete my set.
Alright. Who's next?
Technically, it's just kind of a question.
No. Anthony's up, alright. Alright.
Wow. Elizabeth's getting a little too excited there. Take it down.
So,
Yeah, I'll do that when you do that for Macy.
since I have a MacBook, I cannot
You can just
unfortunately
email
knock
it,
it up.
right?
That would be too much work. And I'm lazy like that. So, who did I pick?
Your mom.
Could it be Deadpool? Pepsi Man?
Hey.
Maybe Corporal Pam? No, it is,
Axel Ridge.
what?
Joking. Wrong movie. Go.
Maverick. Yeah, originally, it was one of the leading steps that took me towards aviation. I thought it was a really cool movie. I watched it more times than I probably should have. I mean, overall, it has a great story arc. He gets to fly a freaking F-14, one of the greatest planes there is. And, yeah, I wasn't very prepared for this. Just clap at the end. Yay. That's it. I was not prepared for this.
It's done. You can tell us what you like about Maverick.
The need for speed.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Wow, that was literally like 20 seconds.
I was not prepared. I spent 90% of the time doing Brazil.
All right, what we'll do then is next week when Julia and Audie do theirs, you can come back up and tell us what you like about Maverick.
Alright, I'll make it better.
Okay. Tell us about these characters and why you love them. All right, who else? Who's next?
Polly? I don't know.
Polly? What's up?
Just want to get it over with.
You'll be the best for last.
Just talking.
Elizabeth Stoss.
No, it's 3 of them.
Alright, so I grew up watching Marvel, so it's gonna be a Marvel character, which is Thor. So me, I'm more of a comedic kind of guy, so he became my favorite superhero / guy that like he became it once like he went like the Ragnarok movie. Really just because his first 2 movies were kind of garbage, but Ragnarok really hit his peak, especially like he just has like great power and responsibility.
That's Spiderman.
Yeah, I know. But he like he led his people in the right way, and he has a high IQ too, because he's like 1,000-something years old.
Experience.
Yes.
I ain't not that smart.
No, he's not the smartest now, as he's fat and long hair. But yeah, he's very strong. Isn't the smartest, but definitely can be smart if he is. And yeah. Any questions?
I have a question. For Dark World, do you think the coat hanger was worthy?
Definitely, because he hung his hammer on a coat. Also, my favorite part was in Thor Ragnarok when Helen was beating him up and he like saw Odin and he didn't know how to like beat her without his hammer. And he said he's not the god of hammers, he's the god of thunder, so then he actually broke out of his cage. Thank you.
Came out.
All right, who's next?
How about the Fangirls go?
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Should we just go?
You got
We
it.
should just do it, you know?
All right.
Yeah,
So you've got 4 sequences of 3 sequences of 4. So whenever the first person is coming up on their 30 seconds, you hear the little alarm go off, and you got 30 seconds to wrap up and pass it off to the next person. All right? Got a collaborative one.
You get too much of one person.
Does anyone like have a PowerPoint or?
Yes, I have a PowerPoint.
Oh yeah, yes. They have a PowerPoint.
Let's go. Visual representation. We have Rule 30. Stop. Rule show me that we have
Lisa, do you remember your password? You log into it?
My turn today wants to.
It's not. I'm surprised.
You're logged out.
It's not that.
I'm just gonna read from the PowerPoint.
Where am I? Give me a chance.
That is such a long password.
What's that in your
Hey, we're ready.
should totally.
I mean, it's better if it's like long, but good
Hey,
than
girl.
short and like easy.
Yeah. Actually, my sister taught me the best thing is you can take a favorite quote from the book, you take the first letter of each word in it, and then give you like really long passwords, and no one's ever going to guess what it's
Gosh, I was
longest
so much
anime-
thinking just like
Whoa!
August is not a word.
It is not, boys.
the Poggers man and anime.
How the anime makes it so.
Anime has no power.
Anime is amazing.
Okay, so we're gonna be talking about Kirito and why he is the coolest. Okay, so early Kirito. So in the beginning of the anime, you kind of get a sense of him before he joined or goes into SAO. SAO is a virtual online game where people can go on using this thing called nerve gear. So it basically fully immerses you into the game. You're physically and basically all your senses are in the game. So there's no like sense of the outside world anymore. So in the beginning, before SAO, he was antisocial, awkward, and shy. He was closed off emotionally and saw himself in a really negative light. He was in a depressed mindset and has a distrust in people and how they perceive themselves around him, feeling like he doesn't really know them. So he was just a really sad character in general. And then, next slide. In the beginning of SAO, so this is when he joins the game, he learned that they can't leave the game. There's no logging out. And if you die in the game, you die in real life. The nerve gear shocks their brain and kills them. So yeah, if anybody tries to unplug the nerve gear, also dead. So there's no getting out unless you beat the game. In the beginning, after he is in and finds everything out, he tries to improve his social skills. He's still closed off, but is more willing to help others and just help people out. He's still antisocial, but tried. And he starts to develop the will to fight for others and help where he can. And then, next slide. In like the middle / end of SAO, he really grows as a character, and this is probably like one of my favorite parts of the anime. That's Asuna. She's really pretty, and that's like his love interest in the whole anime.
Crush.
Yes, love interest. Anyway, so in like the middle end, he becomes empathetic, sacrificial, brave, starts to see himself in a brighter light, especially after surrounding himself with people that really help and encourage him and are there for him. He's fierce, fatherly, because he just randomly adopts this little computer girl, because she was like, hello, and they were like, what are you? She's like, I don't know, you're my mom and dad now, and they were like, cool. So he's just like a go with the flow kind of dude, but he's also just like really epic and pog and brave. And then yeah, it's it hurt. This hurt a lot. But yeah, that's my part. That's it.
Am I next?
Yes.
Get it. What heard about it? What heard about that?
Everything.
What happened?
So Asuna died, and then
Kirito also kind of died.
Well, yes, he died also, but
Neither one of them actually ended up dead, which is good.
yes, both of them are still alive. Because
No, but
they
imagine
still
the
go
girl.
on, still alive. But yeah,
Imagine when they got the girl was the guy. In real life.
no, because in the nerve gear they put a sensor in your face, so they read exactly what you look like, have your height, and everything.
So you'd be out of luck.
All of your physical features in the real world are in the game. So there was a scene where that happened though.
Nerd. Okay, Isaac.
Oh my god.
Okay.
So season 2, Kirito goes into a game called Gunga Online. And here, because he can't die in the game now, so he's not really scared anymore, and he's like a lot calmer. Yeah, especially mentally, because, I don't know, he's trying to bring himself back up from all the negative thoughts that he had from SAO.
PTSD.
Hey! So, during the game, in Gun Get Online, he meets a girl named Sinon. And it's kind of funny, there's a lot of humor. Sinon thinks he's a girl at first, and it's kind of...
For this reason. The black-haired one is him.
That's Kirito. Yeah, as you can tell in the top right, he doesn't care if he gets shot. So, so yeah, he pretty much just thinks about protecting Sinon the whole time and doesn't really care about himself. And he tries to be more social in this game, because he's not really worried about dying, as usual. So yeah, he just, pretty much his thought process is, if I die, I don't care. So, yeah, he just becomes more social throughout this, and more positive, which is great. So, yeah, that's me.
Okay, so now we're in the current section of Sword Art Online. This is the hardcore. This is the heartbreak. This is where we see the peak of Kirito's emotional character development, and this is what's so great about Kirito's character. Next slide, please. For one thing, we see his self-sacrificial love just coming to a peak. As you can see here, this is him getting injected with a deadly poison, whilst the person he's pushing backward is the love of his life. So he's basically pushing her out of the way and sacrificing himself for her sake. This is the peak of his protectiveness, and it's beautiful.
That's so deep.
It is. It hurts so badly. Next slide. We also get to see him developing a better emotional connection, especially with this character here, Yujiro. Yujiro is his best friend. Like, they're basically brothers, and it is wonderful to watch them interact. But Yujiro was originally a woodcutter, and he desperately wanted to save a close friend of his who was captured by, like, the ruling power of that world, because this is in another world entirely called Underworld. Underworld is basically a simulated reality that is meant to raise artificial souls. He is one of those artificial souls. This is where Kirito takes on his mentoring aspect. As you can see here, he's training Yujiro to be a swordsman, and trains him so well that Yujiro eventually nearly surpasses him in skill. Next slide, please. One of the other great things we can see here is he becomes more open, and he connects better with others. This also leads to a greater sense of camaraderie, and he teams up more easily with others. Next slide. This is also the peak of his kindness, and you can just see he becomes more playful and relaxed, and it's just very heartwarming to see. Which unfortunately also means, next slide, that he is more open to heartbreak, and it hurts so much. He experiences so much and hurts so deeply through all of this. His loyalty and love for others, and just, he hurts deeply when he loses people, and that's very sad. But what's so important about Kirito is, next slide, that he always rises from the ashes stronger than ever. This is his most powerful form, seen at the end of Season 4, where he is fighting the most powerful being he's ever fought before, and protecting the lives of everybody within that world. Also, next slide, he's very adorable. Look at that face. And, yeah. He hot. He real hot.
Middle photo.
Over 100 photos in one night.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
We have 100 photos on your phone of him?
And from one
group chat on one evening. Anyway, but this, Kirito is just one of those characters where he tries so hard, and he just attempts to help everybody in everything that they do. He goes from being this closed off, emotionally isolated, awkward character to a wonderful, loving, kind, helpful, and powerful and courageous character. It's just, this is why he is, as the beginning slide said, the hottest man in all of anime.
2 minutes to go.
Let's go! You spared us.
Yeah!
Wait, what happened? How did he get through heartbreak at the end? Or so? Well,
His best friend died.
When he was training?
Yeah.
It hurts so much. A full season of build up with their friendship.
Oh,
You have
Just
Wait, the guy with the yellow
ruin?
hair?
yeah, he dies.
He died?
Oh, you have no idea.
El
I've seen.
Bozo.
Listen, I've seen this character's death 4 times, and I cried every one of them. Not intentionally necessarily. First time I was watching it with my brother and my father. Then the second time I was showing it to my mother. Third time I was showing it to my uncle, and then I also read it in the books. And I own 23 volumes of just this character being awesome. So he is in fact the best.
All right.
I tried
All right, next.
I played Charizard lost him.
Delilah?
Yeah.
All right.
Austin is dead. Yu-Gi-Oh's dead. Yuki's dead. Lots of
Oh,
page
yeah.
masters suffers. Oh yeah, I forgot. He lost like a full guild of people. And one day, because he was,
I think you forgot Asuna from Naruto.
oh, I will throw the sandwich at you.
That was so sad. No one watched that.
Okay.
Silence!
So I'm really small, so my favorite protagonist is Spiderman. I like him because he's just like a friendly neighborhood superhero and he tries his hardest to never kill anybody. He is very selfless and there are countless times when he has sacrificed himself for his loved ones and for his city. So have all of you either seen the new Spider-Man or don't care if I spoil it?
And
Spoil it.
I have not.
Can I
Yeah,
just spoil it.
Because he's hot as well.
Yeah, that too.
All three of them. I think it's the Spider-Man.
Okay,
You could spoil
this
it.
is like a huge spoiler. I'll just say. So in the end of the movie, he basically loses everybody and everything. And even so, when Peter goes to his new apartment, it's very like dingy and beat up, but he still smiles and he's ready to begin his new life. And he goes out and he's new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, convincing.
Alright, who's your favorite Spider-Man?
I can't answer that. That's too.
It's too.
That's too bad. They all have their best qualities.
That's wrong. There's only. I think I'm gonna be honest. I love Toby. He's my favorite, but like overall, if you think about it, Tom Holland is like
The best
he's the most high school actor. Yeah, I think the most.
Yeah,
he's
the energy spectrum.
Andrew Garfield is just like has the most tech. I like his acting skills. And I like how he plays. Like you know how he's crawling around or like using his intelligence with webs and stuff. He's like the best Spider-Man, but like not the best high schooler. And Tom Holland's. Yeah, it's kind of hard. And then like Tobey Maguire here.
Don't judge him. He failed high school too many times.
Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man.
Yeah, we have to have a debate about that later. All right, next. Next, Isaac, you up? Isaac. Next. You're not on? Okay. Anyone else to go?
We got everybody actually.
Wait,
Is that everyone?
Julia.
Today? Well, Julia's going next week. And Audie.
What about Isaac?
Yeah, what about it?
He's not ready, so.
He's also not
Isaac will be next
Ow!
week.
I don't know.
Okay, does anyone want to add anything to their presentation on reflection? Something they wish they had said? Like a character. Was anybody intrigued by a character maybe they didn't know or saw the character in a new light? Okay.
I've never watched Attack on Titan. I've never watched Sword Art Online.
Okay.
But, like, kind of made me like think about watching it. I have too much to watch.
It's really good.
You're watching Naruto, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's the best anime of all time.
SAO is like 100 episodes in total. Naruto is like, how many episodes?
I'll have to fit that into my anime.
One movie. Too many.
So, okay, question. What intrigued you and made you interested in possibly watching the show?
Because from what I like heard, because I'm on like anime side of TikTok, like
Everybody says it.
Everyone's like there's some people I barely see him in them, but like he's like the one he's like a crybaby or something like that,
That ain't accurate.
I can only assume that you're talking about Deku because
I was gonna say Deku.
He's a crybaby.
And Tanjiro.
Yeah, Tanjiro just
Crybaby.
wasn't
He's just
Tanjiro
he's
was-
emotionally involved.
Alright, okay, sorry.
Anyway,
It made me see him as a more stronger.
Okay, so you saw them as a stronger character, more interesting character.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of people try to flatten this and say that it's a terrible series. They say that like the characters are very flat, which is not true. They act as though the writing is terrible. None of these things are accurate. The animation's beautiful, the writing's beautiful. Everything else.
Episode in the first season is
So great.
It's actually probably
Anyway, but one of the interesting things about Kirito that I didn't get to touch on because it was
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. That's okay. No, I actually asked if there's anything they wanted to add to their presentation instead
Yeah.
they forgot to.
So I'm adding to it.
So let's do it one at a time. Go ahead, Elizabeth, and then if someone else wants to add to their presentation.
I was just going to say, one of the interesting things about Kirito that I didn't get to talk about is the fact that he fills a lot of roles in the series. He's not one of those characters where, like, he's good for one thing and one thing only. He's not just a powerful swordsman, and he is a very powerful swordsman. But, no, he fills so many roles in so many characters' lives. Like, Faith briefly touched on the fact that he plays a parental role in the series. He's a very close friend. He's very emotionally available and helps people through things because he's experienced so much. Like, there's a scene in season 2 where a character who killed somebody by accident when they were a child, because anime, like is having to deal with that at that moment because like her past is coming back in a very strong way, and because he killed people within Sword Art Online in defense of others, he basically opens up to her and just kind of connects with her. But he's not only there to counsel people, he's kind, he's a father figure, he's a mentor, he's a friend, he's everything. This is why Kirito is the best character. This is why I've spent 3 years obsessing over this guy.
Yeah, go ahead, Anna.
I just want to say that needle that Kirito is going to sacrifice himself with, that's from the season 2. Because of course there has to be a murderer, right, in the next video game. So that same murderer was actually in SAO. He was one of the, yeah, that thing. It was like a group that killed people.
Yeah, they were called
fun.
Laughing Coffin. They were a group of murderers.
Yeah. So that one guy got into there, and then he had his, I don't know, he had some people to kill their people. I'm not spoiling it too much.
Yeah, especially because like the person who hasn't seen it yet is
Yeah. But it's sad. I would
wait
Kirito
for a few years.
Delilah, you kind of gave a real brief one. Is there anything you wanted to add to it?
Just kind of that I really like how Peter Parker, he's so incredibly smart, like school smart. And
Okay.
He takes that into, like when he's Spider-Man. Like in the new one, he uses geometry to his advantage.
Yeah.
It's something,
like
one example.
He fights smart, not just hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, he talks way too much while fighting.
Have you ever seen
You watch anime? How can you live? I mean, like.
Paulie, how about you? You had kind of a short one. Do you have anything you wanted to add to yours?
Not really, but I low-key was about to pick Groot. I think it's fine.
Louder?
I was about to pick Groot from Despicable Me.
From Groot from Despicable Me? And that would be an interesting one to hear what you loved about him. How about you, Anthony? Well, you're going to add next week for Maverick, okay?
I am?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
That's his dream.
Since I'm one of the like 3 other people in this room who've seen that movie yet. There's got to be something about his character besides the fact that he flies fast. Because Iceman flies fast, right? But
It's so sad when he loses.
something about Maverick, huh?
It's so sad when he
It is sad when he loses Goose,
I thought
yes.
Pastor Brandon was telling
You know why Goose died?
Yeah, I know.
Like every Goose, they snap their necks.
Anyway,
It's so sad.
Why you?
Yeah, who would you choose?
Well, when Mrs. Jenkins or Dr. Jenkins asked me right as I was coming up that, and I gave first one answer then another, so it'd be kind of hard to separate which one more. Probably my number one character who, if I sort of like wish I could be like them, is Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. I love his character. I love the fact that he has an incredible He has knowledge that looks way back to the past. He has an incredible loyalty to that, but he's also committed to not rewriting the mistakes of history, and that he endures a lot of tragedy to get there. And so in the end, he's a very heroic character because of the sacrifices he makes, even though in the books, as Lord of the Rings ends, he's still alive and he makes it through. The pieces you guys don't, if you don't know the whole Silmarillion background and all that kind of stuff, is that he ends up sacrificing his love for his wife, and because she chooses mortality to be with him, and then he ends up giving up his own life at the end. So that the kingdom can be preserved. So I love that about him. My favorite character in terms of just pure humanity is Darcy from Pride and Prejudice, because his principles always stay the same, but he grows in his ability to apply them. Like, he's always about honor and doing the right thing, but in the beginning, this is the pride and Prejudice, is that he's too arrogant in the way he applies the rules, and he has to be sort of humanized, and the experiences of the book bring that about for him, so that by the end he still wants to do the right thing, he still has a sense of honor, but he's much more human in his approach to it, and he sees his own weaknesses, and because he sees his own weaknesses, he's more charitable with the weaknesses of others, and I love that about him. So okay, cool.
I totally forgot there were like 2 or 3 other points about the presentation that we just totally forgot about. What? The fact that Kirito is brilliant, actually.
Oh yeah, he's very smart.
He can actually outcode a computer if he tries hard enough.
Big brain.
He's very
brain.
Oh yeah, he is very
Big brain.
And also, one of the other things that was so great about him is that he is a very human character. He's very accepting and aware of his own flaws, which helps him to become a more realistic character. A lot of characters in a lot of series are very one-dimensional, at least in like the way that they are truly human, because there's usually only one aspect to them, or at least one aspect that gets properly explored. But Kirito, they kind of explore him as an all-around person. He openly confronts things that he hates about himself and tries to move past them. It makes for a very human and realistic character. Like, one time my friend said that he was a very simple character. It's why I disagree, is because there is so much to him if you look hard enough.
Okay.
He's also afraid of heights.
He is, and it's so cute.
Just how to say that.
All right. After we do our wrap-up with our 3 other people, we're going to do a little bit more next week. You're going to see why we've done all this. But in the meantime, for next week, we need our 2 people to continue with our presentations on the Nativity of the Christ.
I'll do it. I already did mine,
Do it so I can stop putting it off.
You're pointing at
it's so first, like
2.
Wait, who did that?
Who hasn't gone yet for doing the reflections on the
So
dyads
I'm
of
doing
Nativity of the Christ? Huh?
I'm doing one.
You'll do one? Okay. And Lyle, are you volunteering?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I wish I did it now.
All right, thank you all. This was very illuminating. I enjoyed hearing all of your excitement. So we will talk next week more about this and about why we did this, as just more than just for fun thing. I did want to give you guys something fun to do over spring break, though. So, all right, have a great week, and I'll see you next week.